Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
The roof once again is closed at Marlins Park in Miami. It's a beautiful day on the outside and a crowd gathering in the inside. Game 3 of 4. 1-1 the series so far, the Reds and the Marlins. And a pleasant Saturday, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and our entire crew, I'm Tom Brenneman. We're delighted to have you with us for Reds baseball today. 2-1. That's the number of runs scored by the teams in this series. The Marlins got 2 in the opener. The Reds got 1 last night.
Well, runs are harder to find down here in this weekend than snooker under a full moon at the Rickenbacker Bridge.
Wow.
But the Marlins, how about this? They won 2-0 behind Fernandez on Thursday night. He was as good as you will ever see. Until you saw Mike Leake last night, really took control of the ball game, the pace of the game, threw a lot of strikes, had 10 strikeouts, a great outing for Mike Leake.
Now, when this series began, this was kind of the game you were anticipating. Anthony DeSclafani against Matt Latos, traded for one another during the offseason, and neither one of them's in there tonight.
I'm a little disappointed about that, really, because I always think it's very compelling when one pitcher who's traded for another gets to match up against that pitcher, and both teams are gunning to get a win. But they'll be gunning to get a win today, there's no doubt about it. We get to see Raisel Iglesias on the mound today. He was down in the minor leagues on a rehab assignment. This young man was very impressive to me. Really, Tom, ever since I saw him pitch in spring training, those are the numbers you see. Don't worry about the earned run average. The sample size is too small for that. But this guy has greatness written all over him. Good control, loosey-goosey arm, lots of pitches. He's fun to watch.
Marlins are hoping the same old's true for Adam Conley. They just brought him up.
Well, they've got 11 pitchers who have started for them this year. That ties in the major leagues right now. They had 13 a couple of years ago. Here's a young man that really turned it on his last 8 starts down in the minor leagues. 8-2 overall. And the last time the Reds saw a rookie left-hander from the Marlins, he shut him down. Nicolino did that. We'll see if Adam Conley has that same kind of output today.
Reds are hoping he does not. When we return, we'll check back in down at FanFest with the entire gang. They've been busy all day long. And earlier, moments ago, All-Stars of the Marlins, Stanton and Gordon, being recognized at the plate. But at Marlins Park, the roof is closed. Reds and the Marlins, game 3 of 4. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup tonight. Reds were shut out in the opener. They scored 1 run to win last night. It's presented by Meyer. And by and large, the same group outside of the catcher's position and on the mound. Pena bats 6th, and he will catch Raisel Iglesias, just brought up from Louisville, who will pitch and bat 8th. And on the mound for the Marlins, second-round pick 4 years ago, just turned 25 years old, is Adam Conley.
Well, they got him out of Washington State University, Conley. He's not an overpowering pitcher. He's a guy that's going to dial it up anywhere from 90 to 92 miles an hour. Throws a curveball and a changeup. And from what the scouts have told me that have heard of him and seen him pitch, they say he favors that changeup a little bit more than the curve. And he may remind you of Justin Nicolino. Remember that kind of outing that he had in Cincinnati when he made his major league debut against the Reds, another left-hander up out of the farm system for the Marlins. So we'll see what Conley has here this afternoon.
Well, Brandon Phillips will lead things off, and he is in the driver's seat right from the get-go. Presented by Kia. Talked about how well he has swung the bat on the road this season, riding a 10-game road hitting streak, but he's been doing it all year. 4th best batting average on the road among all players in the National League. So here we go. The left-hander throws the right leg in the air, delivers to your right one, says Lance Barksdale. And we are underway. Eric Cooper at first, Quinn Walcott the umpire at second, and Gary Cederstrom is the umpire at third. Brandon, a .276 batter, 5 home runs and 31 runs batted in. Grounded to the right side, gobbled up by Gordon. 1 away. Take a look at the Marlins on defense. First start of the series out and right for Ichiro Suzuki. Gillespie moving over into center field, and Yelich back at his normal spot in left. It's also the first start since returning to the Marlins. He came back on board yesterday, and then right back in the lineup, Casey McGee. That was a failed experiment by the San Francisco Giants when they brought in McGee to replace Sandoval. There's a fly ball in the first pitch to Votto. Short of the track, it'll be Yelich, and they're 2 away in the Reds' first inning.
Well, the inning going about the way that young Adam Conley would like it to go. 4 pitches, 2 outs. You got to really put yourself in his shoes and just think about the nerves that are going through his body right now, making his major league debut. I mean, he's 25, so he's watched a lot of these guys, you know, through college and the minor leagues, and you're thinking, I'm facing Joey Votto. I'm not watching him on TV anymore. And isn't Todd Frazier in the home run hitting contest? So those are the kind of things that you almost have to block out when you're finally pitching in the major leagues. You try to ignore the names on the jerseys and just go by who the hitters are as far as hitters and not necessarily personalities.
For the change up there at 83, and that Frazier way out in front. 1 ball and 2 strikes. This young man's having quite a year at the minor league level. He was named the starting pitcher in the Pacific Coast League All-Star game. And they're bringing him up at a very hot time for him. His final 3 starts prior to this one, 2-0. It allowed 1 run in 19 innings. That is a fair ball down a third base line by Frazier. And he stands up with a 2-out double at second base.
Well, Frazier's had somewhat of a very quiet Miami part of the road trip. Had 1 hit in each of the last couple of games. This ball gets up by Conley and ripped down the left field line.
So now Jay Bruce, nothing quiet about his game last night. Hit a home run for the game's only run. That came in his second inning on the very first pitch of the inning. He also added a double and drew a walk. The numbers are really starting to improve significantly for Jay Bruce. We showed you his numbers over the last 22 games. And a batting average upwards of .330. A lot of doubles. He's driven in a lot of runs. And all of a sudden, after the home run last night, the batting average is not where he would like it to be, though it's certainly rising. But now he has 13 home runs. He has 18 doubles. Things are getting better. Significantly better. Been walking with a lot more frequency as Bruce. He's taken outside, 1 ball and 2 strikes. I think Mr. Conley was looking for strike 3 there from Lance Barksdale, the home plate umpire. Instead, it's ball 2.
You know, the question is, Tom, and here's Jay Bruce in his 8th year in the major leagues. You're really wondering, well, what is the batting average going to be for Jay Bruce at the end of the year? He's had so many ups and downs seemingly in the middle of the season.
There's a line drive and a left field base hit. They're going to wave around Frazier. Here comes a throw by Yelich to the plate. And out is a call to plate. A perfect throw by Christian Yelich. So the Reds denied a run as the Marlins make a play.
Looking forward to getting Iglesias back here. You know, we think he's a big leaguer. We think he's a guy that's going to benefit greatly from being in the rotation and pitching in the big league level and kind of learning what it takes to manage a lineup 2 and 3 times through. And we see him as a big part of this ball club moving forward, and these are valuable innings for him.
Brian Price referring to the man just brought back up to the major leagues, part of our Elk and Elk storyline. Welcome back. Raisel Iglesias came over from Cuba a year and a half ago.
Well, forget about the earned run average. Not enough innings under his belt to do that, but he has had some very good games, and he's given up a few runs in some of his games. His second start overall as a major leaguer was an 8-inning, 1-run, 2-hit performance against the Atlanta Braves. That was back on May the 13th. Just now coming off the disabled list with a side muscle injury.
And he has to be so excited of getting a chance to pitch in this series in this city.
Yeah.
Slapped foul by the second baseman D. Gordon on his way to the All-Star game. Will be starting for the National League All-Star team at second base. Well, one half of the infield to start for the National League is right here in this series, and gone swinging on a breaking ball is Gordon. Marlins under Dan Jennings, who replaced Mike Redmond. Under 2 months into the season, as Yelich following Gordon and Echeverria. Moore, McGee, Gillespie 4, 5, 6. Real Muto, Ichiro, and Conley the latter third. Yelich has reached base safely in 13 consecutive games, his longest such streak of the year. Trying to bunt his way on, and Pena goes out to get it. That's a good play by Bryant.
Now the first game in this series that Bryant has started, and he comes right out of the chute and makes a nice play, fields it, does a 360, fires in the same motion, and it's right on the money. Yelich runs well. That was a nice play.
First pitch breaking ball to Danny Echeverria, batting third and again playing shortstop. Batting third in the absence for at least a month of their big slugger Giancarlo Stanton. Breaking ball in there, a strike. Echeverria is really starting to fill into what was a tall, extremely thin. I mean, this guy 2 years ago, when we first laid eyes on him, he had the look almost of a Ichabod Crane-like body. Now all of a sudden getting bigger, stronger, thicker.
They've got him listed now at 215, so at 6'2", 215, that's not a string bean, not anymore. He also is a native of Cuba. 26 years old, makes him a year older than Raisel Iglesias.
2-2.
Echeverria came over from the Toronto Blue Jays in that mega deal that included Yunel Escobar, Anthony DeStefani, Justin Nicolino in exchange for Mark Burley, John Johnson, Emilio Bonifacio, and Jose Reyes.
What an impressive return in the opening inning for Iglesias. They're gone in order with a couple of strikeouts. Date a strong fan, you might just end up being a part of our broadcast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. No score at the end of one. Here come the Reds here in the second against left-hander Adam Conley. Marlon Byrd, first pitch swinging. It's at a ton to straightaway center field. Gillespie going back. And what a play he makes in center. An over-the-shoulder reception on the run made by Gillespie. Goodness gracious, what a play.
Well, one of the few ballparks in the major leagues where you can hit a ball this well and send a fielder that deep and still have it recorded as an out. That ball was a bomb way up on the berm, if not off the batter's eye, back in Cincinnati.
So now Brian Pena, 291, 11 runs batted in. Chris mentioned earlier this is the first start of this series for Brian. Tucker Barnhart's been in there the last two nights. And a line drive, and Conley right now is not fooling anybody. He retired Phillips and Votto rather routinely. Then Frazier doubled up the left field line. Bruce lined a single in the left. And now Bird a liner to center and Pena a liner to short. Of course, the flip side of all that is Conley saying not everybody's going to hit it that hard, and I might be living right.
That's exactly right. I mean, if you're going to give up line drives, you might as well have them go right into the gloves. Atom balls. And a lot of times, that's what determines whether you have a good game or not. Because you're always going to give up a certain number of line drives. Really great pitchers, of course, fewer than others. But he's just got to be very happy that he's getting outs at this point. Because your worst nightmare in your major league debut is going out there and not being able to get out of the first or second inning.
1 ball and 1 strike on Suarez. Checks in at 325. Eugenio 3 home runs, 13 runs batted in. Swinging a foul ball back out of play. You know, we talked about earlier that this is the first start in the career of Conley. He had a chance to pitch in 1 inning of a game exactly 1 month ago. That was against Toronto. But they're very excited to see him where they believe he will ultimately end up here in making his big league debut as a starter.
Yeah, you know, I guess you're splitting hairs. I mean, he had a 1-2-3 inning.
Right.
So I'm really calling this a major league debut.
And he threw all 6 pitches to get a 1-2-3 inning.
Pretty good inning.
Pretty good pitch right there. It sounded like Suarez broke his bat. He took a look at it, but apparently not.
Conley was a player that was twice drafted, once out of high school, did not sign, ended up going to Washington State University, and after his junior year was picked up in the 2nd round by the Marlins.
This ball is stung by Suarez into left field, and that will sail over the wall into the Reds bullpen, and Suarez clubs his 4th home run. 1-0 Reds.
Boy, the more you watch him play, the better you like his swing. Got a breaking ball pretty much center cut. Didn't have a lot of depth on it, meaning it didn't sink much, but Suarez puts a good swing on it. Got a real nice approach.
And I tell you, he's a much thicker, stronger guy than you realize. And he's only 23 years old.
So you got to figure he's going to get a little bit bigger.
I would think so. I don't know if you want to get a whole lot bigger because he's already put together in a pretty good way. Got big old thick forearms on him, you see right there, and strong kid. Iglesias hit the ball hard right at Gordon. 4 hard hit balls in the inning. And the 3rd one leaves the yard. 1-0 Reds on the Suarez home run. Last night brought to you by IGS. How about his strikeout pitches, Chris, in the 9th inning?
I mean, just the miles per hour of those strikeout pitches. Yelich, 100. And then Bohr and Michael Morse, 103. Now, Aditi Echeverria hit one of those 103 fastballs for a base hit.
Yep.
That doesn't happen very often, though.
In fact, it's never happened. That is the fastest pitch ever thrown where a batter collected a base hit. And it didn't last very long. Right?
Yeah.
The last one was 102 against Chapman.
You feel like he's getting stronger and throwing
You and
harder.
I were talking about this.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no doubt in my mind.
I mean,
you made the best point, and I can't wait to see it. Hopefully we will see it. If he comes in on Tuesday night at the All-Star game at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, and you said it yourself, the adrenaline, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility he throws a pitch 105 miles an hour.
oh, you know he's capable.
He's just throwing harder here lately than we've ever seen him. He is something else, man.
And a lot of that comes from, of course, natural talent and strength, but the timing of your delivery. And I think the more that he pitches, the better he learns his delivery. He smooths it out. He gets that timing, and that's when you really become efficient. And efficient for him is velocity.
Casey McGee in a lineup tonight, a bouncer to the right side. Bohr and McGee set down by Rysel to begin the 2nd inning. And the Reds on defense presented by Floyd. This is a group day in and day out in left, center, and right. 3rd, short, 2nd, and 1st. It's playing every day, every inning of every game. The only changes we have seen on this road trip outside of one Skip Schumacher start naturally would be the battery. Reds come in at 6 games under 500. The Pirates beat the Cardinals last night. Pirates are 4.5 behind the Redbirds in the NL Central. The Reds are 5.5 behind the Cubs for 3rd place. And right now, if the season ended today, and obviously there's nearly 1/2 of a season remaining to Tapper to short. Both National League wildcard spots would be taken by the National League Central Division. And at 2, Reds lead 1-0. You are with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. It's up to the moment. Have in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast. You'll love that and so much more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet today. 1-0 Reds. We begin the third. Reds scored on a home run by Eugenio Suarez in the second inning. So 9-1-2 in the order. That means Hamilton, Phillips, and Votto against Adam Conley, making his first big league start here today. That was shot in amongst a number of Reds fans. Up behind the Reds dugout over on the first base side here at Marlins Park. We've run into a number of Reds fans trying to, hitchhike our way back from the ballpark after games. Had a family, real nice family in from Dayton.
Saw some newlyweds that were from the Westchester area.
Yep. Sinking liner, base hit by Billy Hamilton. That's right. They wanted a picture with Chris Welsh. As soon as they laid eyes on you, they said, we have to have a picture.
As I recall it, Tom, we both were in that photograph.
That's because they felt sorry for me.
And can you blame them?
No. Need all the help I can get.
All right, well, I guess we're going to find out what kind of move young Adam Conley has with the fastest runner on the Reds team on first base.
42 stolen bases, most in the major leagues for Billy Hamilton. He won't have a chance to run in his at bat. 1 out in the inning.
I'm a little surprised that Brandon did not give Billy Hamilton a pitch or two with which to try to steal. And I know that Votto, he's not a big fan of runners running when he's on up at the plate. And a lot of hitters aren't. It's not like it's only peculiar to Joey Votto. There are a lot of hitters that simply feel it's somewhat of a distraction when that runner is in motion and they see that guy move out of corner of his eye, and you're trying to center up a baseball. One thing about stealing off a left-hander is that a base runner can get a bigger lead off there, because most left-handers don't have a real quick move to first base. Their best moves are normally deceptive moves, but slow. So you can really stretch it out there if you're Billy Hamilton.
There he goes, and no chance for Real Muto. Number 43 for Billy Hamilton, and he is all alone as a Cincinnati Red for the most stolen bases by a Red before the All-Star break. He was tied with Eric Davis. On Joey Votto. He flied out to left field on the very first pitch of his only at bat. But now he has Billy Hamilton in scoring position. And we showed you the numbers the other night. The frequency so far this year with which Hamilton has taken off for third. I don't think it comes as a surprise when you lead the league, lead the major leagues in stolen bases, that you lead the league in steals of third.
13 of them for Billy.
But what surprised us last night was D. Gordon, that he has the second most steals in the league, but fourth most of third. And now Hamilton takes off and nobody saw it coming. Boy, is he something. Soon as the ball was flipped back to the catcher, Hamilton took off.
Or you just put your head down and you give him a shot. Watch Hamilton. He goes back to the bag, and that was complete fake by Billy Hamilton. And that was a pre-planned play, I think, on his part, that he was going to put his head down. You flip it back to the pitcher. Meanwhile, he turns and gets to third base, but doesn't even draw a throw. I love that.
There's ball 4 to Votto, and the Reds have it cooking here in the 3rd inning. They're on the corners thanks to the speed of Hamilton. Only 1 out, and here comes Todd Frazier. Frazier doubled up the third base line. His only time up. Takes a fastball off the inside corner. 1-1 to Todd Frazier, the team leader in home runs with 25 and RBIs with 55. Hamilton, a leadoff single, stole second, steals third, and now hoping to trot home. Frazier in the plate in a 2-1 count. Well, Frazier had a pitch to hit right there and fouls it straight back. Prior to the All-Star game, the most extra base hits ever recorded by a Red, the Hall of Famer and baseball's all-time greatest catcher Johnny Bench, had 54 in 1970. Frazier has 51 after that double, and he has more than that. In the air, left center field, and caught. Oh, I beg your pardon, I thought he got it. It's a sac fly RBI. Well, that ball appeared to dive out there. You saw those folks in that nightclub out there thinking they were ready to catch one. 2-0 Red Legs.
Well, maybe a little bit on the end of the bat as we see that in slow motion, Tom. It sounded good. It looked good. In fact, at first, it looked like Christian Yelich was going back to watch that ball go over the fence. And it just ran out of gas. But because of the stolen bases by Hamilton, an RBI for Todd Frazier.
Well, you can tell Frazier's reaction. He thought he got it too.
Well, welcome to Marlins Park, where it does not get easy down here. Of course, their slugger, Giancarlo Stanton, he hits them farther than anybody.
Yes.
So it may not bother him as far as the frequency of home runs, but you just got to wonder how many near misses he has over the years. Whereas if you played in Great American Ballpark, where, you know, as it gets warm in the summertime, that ball really flies out of there. Marlon Byrd's ball out in center field would have been a home run. Frazier's ball, easy home run. So you look on both sides of it when you start comparing ballparks, because you're comparing, you know, those sluggers that are hitting him at the wrong time and in the wrong places, like Frazier and Bird today. And then you go back and you realize what an incredible job Johnny Cueto has done over the years in being stingy with the home run ball in Cincinnati.
2-1 to Jay Bruce. And he hammers it foul for a second straight pitch. Straight into the ground around a home plate umpire, home plate area.
You know, and we were talking a while back about the average fly ball, how far the average fly ball goes for a hitter. And I'm wondering if that's the one area where it really does have some significance in scouting a player. If a guy has a higher average and number of feet he hits a fly ball, he's obviously going to hit more home runs, especially in a smaller ballpark.
That ball in the air to deep left center field. And the left fielder, Yelich, makes a catch. Boy, the Reds are hitting some rockets in this game. They get another run. They lead 2-0. In the home half of the third inning, 2 perfect innings thrown by Iglesias, and they're just falling in line here, Chris. Look at these last 3 games by Red starters.
Really outstanding. I mean, you expect it out of Johnny Cueto, although he really topped himself when he pitched that game back up in BC. But Michael Lorenzen down here 6 innings, and he went up against a tough customer there in Jose Fernandez. Well, there's no doubt about it. When you start evaluating the Reds organization overall, their strength is in the arms that they have, both at the major league level here and in the minor leagues coming up. I mean, all the way down to A-ball, they've got some good arms all the way up and down the system.
Of course, Iglesias now with a big league club after going on the disabled list, spending a little bit of time rehabbing down in Louisville. Now he's in the rotation, a rookie in DeSclafani, the rookie in Lorenzen. Will there be more in a couple of weeks from now? Time will tell. Saw John Moscott before he was injured, injuring his non-pitching shoulder, making a tag out diving in Detroit a couple of weeks ago. 3 balls and 2 strikes. And, you know, we continue to monitor the Reds' #1 prospect in their entire organization, at least according to Baseball America, is Robert Stevenson. And now he has been moved up to AAA and is off to a really good start at that level, the first time he's ever been there.
You know, he's a young man that, Tom, came in very raw, came out of high school with a rocket arm. I mean, he could throw up around 100 miles an hour, but his delivery has gotten better and better. It's seemingly every year, and with a better delivery comes repeatability. And I'll tell you what, the Reds minor league pitching coaches have done a tremendous job, not just with Robert Stevenson, but with a lot of those young pitchers that have been drafted and looked very raw when they came in, and they're beginning to get smoothed out a little bit. They've got a great minor league pitching coaching staff.
3-2 pitch popped up by Real Muto. 1 away, and Baseball Prospectus issuing its overall top 50 in all the Major League Baseballs, includes all teams. Stevenson number 23, Jesse Winker 41. Winker got off to a very slow start and is really starting to come around. You know, you talk about some of the pitching coaches and mentors through the Reds minor league system. The name Tom Brown seemingly comes up every time you start talking to people.
Well, every time you start talking to one of the pitchers themselves, if you ask them who's had influence on you, not the most, but who's had influence on you, and Tom Brown is one of the first names you hear.
Elmer Descends, former pitcher for the Reds. He is now working in Arizona with those in the rookie league. You go to Billings. Darren Ebert, the pitching coach there for Dickie Schofield. And then some very familiar names as you move up the food chain. Tom Browning in Dayton, very highly thought of. Your old college teammate Tony Fossis in Daytona, Florida. Jeff Facero, another accomplished major league pitcher. He's a pitching coach at AA Pensacola. And then, of course, our pal Ted Power at AAA Louisville.
I always thought it was important to have different pitching coaches, not guys that said the same thing the same way, because most coaches will say the same thing basically, but they'll say it in different ways. And you get one guy that you just can't, you just don't get it. And then the guy will say the same, somebody else will say the same thing a little different way, and all of a sudden the light comes on. And it opens up a whole new door for you.
Ichiro smokes one into left center field. It'll be dropped out there on a sliding attempt by Bird. It looked like he had it, and then it popped out of there. We were shielded from the ball, but based on his reaction, you knew it had gotten away from him. Well, Ichiro's hit the ball very hard twice in this series.
Well, the ball was slicing towards Marlon Bird. It looks like he's going to make a little basket catch as he slides right there, just pops right out of his glove. He's made some very fine defensive plays. He made a really good one last night on Ichiro. And he kept him to a single on a ball that looked like it could have been a double. In a 1-0 ball game, that was important out.
Iglesias will play to Brandon Phillips, give the pitcher Conley the sacrifice, advancing Ichiro on to second base. 2 away in the inning. So that'll bring D. Gordon to the plate. Gordon comes into play today, 3rd in the National League in batting average. Arizona's Paul Goldschmidt continues to lead the league at .345. Ground ball. Suarez does not have a play anywhere, but he kept it in the infield. I think he was momentarily blocked, shielded anyway, by Ichiro, the base runner, and even fielding it cleanly, he doesn't throw out Gordon.
Well, the more you watch Gordon, the more you think about what Billy Hamilton can evolve into. I mean, he's really trying to hit that ball on the ground to the left side. You can see by that swing right there, very controlled. He doesn't take a rip like he wants to hit it out of the ballpark or find the gap. He's trying to find a hole somewhere.
Well, he's finding a lot of them. He leads the league in hits. Here's Yelich. Nope. Throw to first. Gordon has 33 steals. He's been thrown out 12 times. He had a big night of it the first night of the series. Stole 3 bases, scored 2 runs. Was caught once. The second time through this batting order now for Raisel Iglesias. Yelich tried to bunt his way on his first time up and was thrown out by the catcher Brian Pena. Well, giddy up on that fastball at 94 miles per hour. That one at 95, just off the outside edge. Reds with a 2-0 lead. Marlins have Ichiro at third, Gordon at first, 2 outs, 1 ball, 2 strikes to Christian Yelich. Down the third base line, foul. Gordon was running on the pitch. Yelich only 23 years young and just turned 23 during the offseason. They have very high hopes for this #1 pick. And a liner. Phillips to the glove side will end the inning. 2 out. Reds lead 2-0. scored. The '89 All-Star night will be remembered for a solo home run in the first inning by Bo Jackson. Finish the game 2 hits and 4 at-bats. Hit it off. Rick Russell was named the MVP. Eric Davis was the only Red starter in that game. John Franco and Barry Larkin were reserves. We always wonder what could have been. Not only in baseball, but also in football. For Bo Jackson, of course, it was a playoff game against the Cincinnati Bengals on a tackle along the sideline. And it really didn't look like a big deal at all. There's a tapper down the third, and Bird is thrown out to start the Reds' 4th inning. Cincinnati with a 2-0 lead. It's fascinating, you know. They do those shows, documentary-style programs. One of them done on Bo Jackson recently, I saw, and hearing in his words describing that play along the sideline. It's caught. Grabbed by the foot, started to fall forward, and it looked like a tackle along the sideline. But the devastation on such a seemingly nothing regular tackle to the hip, degeneration of that hip, would never allow him again to even walk normally. When you see him now. 2-1 on Brian Pena. And of course, the stuff of Bo Jackson is legendary. You talk to people who were around him as a baseball player or around him as a football player, and people just, they couldn't believe their very eyes. There's strike 3 to Pena. 2 away in the inning.
And he's a man of his word, too, Bo Jackson. Remember that he was drafted #1 by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when he told the Buccaneers, do not draft me. I am not signing with you. He was angry at the Buccaneers for what he thought ruined his eligibility to play baseball at Auburn by taking a trip down to visit the Bucs before his baseball season was finished at Auburn. And he was declared ineligible right in the middle of the year. And it broke his heart. He told Hugh Culverhouse, do not draft me. I will not sign with you. And they thought, well, young kid saying that, how can you turn down the kind of money we're going to offer him as a #1 draft pick? Well, guess what? He didn't sign with him.
One and one to Eugenio Suarez, and this ball is lined caught by Yelich and left. Suarez homered his first time up, and a line out here. Middle of the 4th, the Reds with a 2-run lead. Well, guys, thank you, fellas. Well, fellas, thank you very much. You know, Chris, you and I had family partaking in the color run today. Here's our kids. Ella there on the left, Luke on the right. Wow. That's when they start getting you with all the colors.
The colored cornstarch. Is that what they
yes,
poured
after
on
you've
people?
run in the race.
They're looking good.
They are. That's a great picture.
Oh, you were all looking at that picture all the way over in the car today, and it was fun to watch that.
Now, your wife also ran today,
well,
right?
Beth ran along with her daughter, Sydney, and they got dressed for it and got drenched with color as well.
Very, very nice. I know my wife, Polly, kids Ella, Luke, cousins in town. Where's Beth?
There we go.
Oh, there they go.
Pictures.
So they mixed it up a little bit with the paint.
Well, you know,
or not the paint, but with the colors.
They call that the happiest 5K on earth. And 15,000 went out and ran today, and it looks like a lot of fun.
Man, I tell you, my wife sent video, and golly, did it look fun. They had bands down there. Everybody jumping around. Weather was perfect for it, I understand. Can't wait to get back home and experience everything in and around the All-Star festivities. Fan fest ongoing. There's a fly ball in the short right field. Reds leading 2-0, and a pop-up by Echeverria is out number 1 here in the last of the 4th inning. Iglesias looks very, very sharp.
Yeah, and it's amazing how sharp he is. He's got a lot of moving parts in his delivery. He's, you know, we like to describe him as loosey-goosey with his arm. It's free-flowing. It's not rock back and power it in there as hard as you can. He throws some different arm angles. I mean, any pitch, any time is the best way to describe him. But when it comes to releasing the baseball, if you watch his head, he keeps his head perfectly still. Doesn't pull off the ball, not flying open trying to overthrow, and that's why he has good control. Has not walked the batter yet. Of course, as soon as I say that, he goes 2-0 on the next hitter.
2-1.
You know, sometimes young kids who, you know, they're told to try to throw hard because they know they're not going to get a starting spot in high school or in college unless they're a hard thrower. At least they're told that. But you really have to keep your head still and let your arm do the work and let your lower body do the work to get you there. But pulling off with your head doesn't do anything for you.
Talk about all the time the physical resemblance, not just in the face, but in the entire body. Then the windup that Iglesias has to the former Yankee, El Duque, another Cuban, Orlando Hernandez, who's a base hit into left field. Versus Iglesias able to come over here as a far younger man than El Duque was able to. Moore with a single into left field. That's 3 hits in the game against Iglesias. And here's Casey McGee.
Yeah, when El Duque broke in with the Yankees, he was 32 years old. He had already been a veteran for a long time down in Cuba, playing in their top league.
Now, the Marlins have a rich history with the name Hernandez because his brother was one of the great pitchers and certainly postseason hero for then the Florida Marlins when they won the World Series in 1997. Easy double play, and that'll take care of the Marlins in the 4th. 2-0 Reds. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer, find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News World and Report's Best Children's Hospitals in America. Beautiful day along the Atlantic Ocean here in Miami. We welcome those of you watching from over at Children's today. We hope you're having a great day. Good start for the Redlegs here. A 2-0 lead as they bat in the top of the 5th inning. First major league start for Adam Conley. Iglesias hit the ball right on the nose, but right at D. Gordon, who threw him out his only time up, ending the 2nd inning. Conley is quite fortunate to be trailing by just 2 runs. The Reds have hit at least 10 balls in this game. Very hard. Frazier and Bruce in the first. Bird, Pena, Suarez, Iglesias all in the second. Hamilton, Bruce, Frazier in the third, and then the line out by Suarez to end a 1, 2, 3, 4th inning. So that's actually 11 of them. In the air, straightaway center field. A lot of room out there. Hey, Iglesias hit that ball a long way.
Yeah.
The Reds fan cam will be back at the Holy Grail this Friday night. Cleveland Indians coming to town. Why not come on down before the game? Answer some trivia questions. You can win great prizes and be a part of Reds Live. It all gets underway at 6 o'clock this Friday. I tell you what, the boys over at the Holy Grail along the banks, that's where we have our Reds Hot Stove League show every week during the wintertime. I think they're in for a busy number of days. Ooh, duck. Like to have a little cut of that pie. Good for them.
So they won't rely on you anymore to keep them in business.
No. You know, I mean, I love it down there. You know that.
Yeah.
But I'm more of a, you know, I love it down there.
More of what, like a Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton guy? Is that what you mean? No. You know better than that. Country club kind of guy?
No, not that either. Been a Mount Adams guy for a long time. But even those days are dwindling.
Yes, they are. You just can't keep the hours anymore.
No, thank God. Check swing by Hamilton. They appeal, and he went around, and that is strike 3.
We really haven't seen too many breaking balls from Adam Conley. This one looks like a little slider down and in that he gets Hamilton to fish at. Conley was a closer for a year or two at Washington State. Then they made him a starter. And he really hasn't exhibited a really good breaking ball today. It's been mainly fastballs he's come right after the Reds hitters with, and occasional changeup from time to time. That'll rocket back through the box.
Brandon, his first hit. He's a 2-out base runner for Joey Votto, who's flying to left and drawing a walk. Breaking ball away from Joey Votto. Votto, 15 home runs, 42 runs batted in, has 15 doubles. Votto checks in with an on-base percentage at .390 going into play today. And the batting average at .280. One pitch. And Votto for the second straight time walks. Those are the only 2 walks issued in this game by Conley. So now a chance for Todd Frazier as Phillips moves into scoring position with 2 away in the inning. Frazier a double down the left field line with 2 outs in the first inning. Was thrown out trying to score from second on a single by Bruce. And then Frazier thought, a lot of fans out beyond the left field wall thought he had clubbed a 2-run home run in the third inning. But the ball was caught in front of the wall by Christian Yelich, and it turned into a sac fly RBI. 56 batted in on the year for Frazier. 2 on. Runners go. Well, that was very odd with 2 outs on a 1-0 count. If the runners start, Frazier's kind of looking around like, what just happened? Gathered at Great American Ballpark. Home field advantage for the World Series on the line. The 2015 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. July 14th. That's this Tuesday. 7 Eastern on Fox. All around Reds country. Look for your local Fox affiliate streaming live as well on Fox Sports Go. We're praying for good weather. We've been saying it every day. We could use your help as well. Everybody has worked so very hard. I don't mean just Reds employees. So many people around the city, whether they be hotels or restaurants or different ball fields that have been dedicated. That ball blasted by Gillespie into left center field. And that one sails out of here. That makes it a 2-1 game.
And it turns on the home run structure.
First time I've seen that baby.
In Cincinnati, of course, they blow off fireworks. Here, they're inside. They don't blow off fireworks. With the roof closed, they turn on the artwork. Looks like that disco you were in last night.
Yeah, right. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
Well, I was hoping to get by the whole series without seeing it operate during the game. Maybe just a practice before. There's the home run ball that was kind of hung right there on the inner part of the plate, a hanging slider. He threw it where Gillespie just left.
2-1 game. Gillespie. With the home run, and man, did he hit that ball. Gillespie playing for his 6th major league team. So while it's his first home run as a Florida Marlin, it is his 5th career big league home. Swung and fouled back out of play off the bat of Real Muto. 1 ball and 2 strikes. We're starting to talk about all the fields that have been dedicated over the last number of days, and certainly a fellow we've known forever. One of the real tough guys and grinders that ever put on a major league uniform. Ron Oster, another born and raised Cincinnatian to reach the major leagues. Went to school at Withrow High School, and they just dedicated a field in his name and his honor. He was so excited. Breaking ball low and away.
Well, that was the field at Withrow, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody that knows about maintenance, it would be him. He's a landscaper by trade. Congratulations, Ronnie. We congratulated Chuck Harmon as well last night. And ripped into left field by Real Muto. So a couple big swings for these Marlins against the Iglesias to start the 5th. Now, they really wanted to keep an eye on Iglesias' pitch count today. He's at 65. You got to remember, he was just sent out on a rehab. After going on the disabled list with the big league club, he has only made 2 appearances since coming back. 3 innings in a start for Louisville against Syracuse, and on the road in Indianapolis, but 6 days ago. So 68 would be the number that he hit his last start as far as pitchers are concerned, and he's knocking on the door of that right now. Ichiro, line 1 into left center field. It looked like Marlon Byrd had made a sliding catch on it. The ball popped out of his mitt and went for a single by Ichiro. Closing in on 2,900 hits in the United States as a major leaguer. He has the 38th most hits in the history of Major League Baseball, and he got a very late start compared to most of us. Run up earlier, you tack on nearly 1,300 more in Japan. He has 4,167 career hits if you combine the two. foul ball. Now, Chris, I don't know how you look at the number of base hits at Ichiro and say, okay, well, you know, playing in Japan as a very, very young man, he piles up all those base hits, almost 1,300. And you say, okay, what would that number look like if he were playing those same years in the United States?
Well, I hope that's a rhetorical question, because I have no idea.
No, I know. I'm just
really,
thinking it is.
Where do you begin?
Where I was going with this, though, is to, you know, to try to put in any sort of perspective. And Pete Rose said it himself a couple of years ago when people started making a big deal about Derek Jeter having a chance for Rose's record. And Rose said he laughed, not because any slight on Derek Jeter. Pete Rose, one of his favorite all-time players, and he'll tell you it's Derek Jeter. Here comes Hamilton, and he'll run that down in the short center. But Rose was like, there is no chance that Derek Jeter, even if he plays 2 or 3 more years, is going to get to Pete Rose's record. And to try to put it into perspective of where Ichiro is now, he is by far the closest, not by a little bit. He is by far the closest of being even in the Rose neighborhood. And you got to bring 1,278 over from Japan.
Yeah. I'm not sure how to rank it. I really am not. All I know is that when he came over here, he was the MVP of the league the first year he played. Mm-hmm. And he led the league in hits, had 247 hits his first season as a major leaguer. So you win the MVP and the Rookie of the Year the same year. Unprecedented.
Now I have a question for you. What you talked about last night? We had 10 seasons of over 200 hits.
In a row.
Yeah. Now, for me, and I'm curious how you feel, for me, this guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, who would not vote for him? There'll be somebody.
There'll be somebody.
I just really wish that the one thing that Reds fans, you know, we're in the other league and you can't get farther away, really, baseball-wise or almost geographically, than Seattle. And we just didn't get to see him play enough, unless you went out of your way to watch those games and, you know, when they were on TV.
Oh, boy. That's a routine bouncing ball right there. That's Dietrich hitting for the pitcher, Conley.
Well, one more step over and you can get your body in front of it. Joey Votto goes down to try to lay it while laying on the side, and that'll go as a base hit.
So that allows a tying run to go to third base with 1 out in the inning. And it's a top of the order indeed, Gordon. So Conley, in this his first major league start. I mean, he gave up a ton of rockets, but at the end of the day, it says 2 runs and 5 hits.
Yeah, only 5 hits. Marlins have more hits than the Reds have gotten. It doesn't seem like that.
Squeeze. Base hit. RBI, 2-2 game.
There's action now down the Reds bullpen. Looks like Burke Badenhoff warming up. I'm not sure how long they're going to allow Iglesias to go, what the pitch count number is, but this is very unfortunate right here. After a ground ball that really could have been caught and maybe even turned into a double play ball. Goes into right field. You lay a bunt down. The infield is just not crowned enough to have that ball go foul.
Well, Iglesias will stay in there. He's been charged with 4 hits. And now 2 runs, 2-2 game, and here's Yelich, who bats for the second straight time with 2 on, this time with 1 out. In a long time, Florida Marlin, Badenhop continues to crank it up in the Reds bullpen. The 0-1 delivery to Yelich. Nope, a bluff throw back to second base. One ball, 1 strike on Yelich. Dietrich and Gordon aboard, second and first with 1 out. Base hit. Marlins have the lead. It's 3-2. Now that will certainly be all for Iglesias. He allows 3 hits in the first 4 innings. He's allowed 5 hits and 3 runs here in the 5th.
Really a shame there because he pitched much better than the line shows.
So Iglesias will leave after 4 1/3 innings. He surrenders 8 base hits, and as we mentioned, 5 of them have come in this inning. 3 runs. The 2 runners, of course, belong to him. He did not walk a batter in fan 2. This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Reds are looking for a ground ball induced by Burke Badenhop when we come back.
Not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Marcell Iglesias leaves with 1 out, 3 in, 2 on in the 5th. Marlins have just taken their first lead of the game on the tie-breaking single by Christian Yelich. That also proves to be the final pitch thrown by Iglesias. Here's Burke Badenhop.
32 games for the Hopper, 32 innings overall. Little ball much better early in the year, had some rough spots, but he's keeping the ball down and getting a lot of ground balls lately. Pitched a scoreless inning here on Thursday.
Speedy Gordon out at second base. Yelich at first. Votto plays behind him. Runners go to stay out of a double play, and that's precisely what they'll do. The only play for Suarez as he throws out Echeverria is to first base. 2 away in the inning.
Well, it's important there that the Reds have the right coverage on. You know, you're going to cover the bag if you're one of the fielders. Frazier goes to third. That time it was Brandon Phillips heading over to second base. Suarez didn't leave his post, and that's where the ground balls hit.
It's interesting. We just saw something that you could go through an entire baseball season and you will never see it happen again, what we have seen in this 5th inning, as they're going to intentionally walk Justin Bour. And that is runners at first and second base in an inning with the number 3 hole hitter at the plate. And in the second pitch of the at-bat, the runners start.
They did it with Frazier at the top of the inning, and they just did it with Echeverria there. And both hitters made it out. What do you
now, with Echeverria, we've talked about it the first 2 games of this series. The only reason this young man is batting third, and who knows, one day Echeverria may turn himself into a number 3 hitter. You never know, but right now he's not. Although for this lineup he is, with no Stanton among others. Frazier's a legitimate number 3 middle of the order hitter. So while they're both hitting third, they are different hitters in every way, shape, and form. They are loaded for McGee. This is a very important batter in this game. In their strike on the outside corner, the 9th man to bat in this Marlin 3-run 5th, and they have him loaded. One and two. They're not trying to leave him loaded, and misses with a fastball to even a count of 2-2.
This is your decision pitch right here on a 2-2 count.
Two and two to McGee. Base hit right field. 2 more runs will score. And the Marlins lead goes to 3. A 5-2 game. And unfortunately for Iglesias, he's hung with all these runs.
Pitch number 6, pretty much right down Broadway for a guy that likes it up in the zone, and that's exactly where it was. Nice little swing into right center field. They just can't stop the bleeding in this inning.
The man who started the inning with a home run, his first as a Florida Marlin, is Connor Gillespie. Hit it over the wall out in left center field. The first of 6 hits so far in this Marlins 5-run 5th. 1-1. Gillespie led off the inning with a home run. Then Real Muto had a single. They got Ichiro on and out, and then the pinch hitter Dietrich hit that bouncing ball to the right side and skipped into right field, and the hit parade was on. 10 of them bat, 5 of them score, and the Marlins own a 3-run lead. Reds will take on the Cleveland Indians, and you can get there for as low as $12. Stick around after the game. Always a spectacular Friday fireworks show, this time presented by Tri-Health. Call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to reds.com/tickets. Gillespie starts a 5-run 5th inning with a home run. And now all of a sudden, after being taken down for a pinch hitting, Adam Conley is the pitcher of record right now on the winning side for the Marlins as they go to their bullpen.
Yeah, he left looking at an L and now is looking at a big W with a little bit of a cushion out there. Sam Dyson will take over. Second time we've seen him in this series. 5 innings of 5-hit 2-run baseball for Conley in his major league starting debut. Gave up a home run and threw 74 pitches.
So the Reds have work to do. Pretty good job overall this year by Dyson. Opponents hitting .228 against him. ERA under 3.5 and now 40 games. Been busy. And a base hit into left field by Jay Bruce. His second hit in 3 at-bats. His only out was a liner.
Hey, a couple of hits last night, a homer and a double. And the liner that he hit was to left field. Most hitters will tell you when you start hitting the ball hard opposite field, you're really getting locked in. And Bruce is showing signs of that.
Marlon Byrd hit a ball 400 and probably 10 feet. And not further than that. His first time up. A great over-the-shoulder catch made by Gillespie. And then Byrd bounced to third his second time up. There's Marlon coming into the game tonight with a season-high 13-game hitting streak in which he's batted .340. That's the longest streak, by the way, by a Red this season, and the 3rd longest active streak in the big leagues right now to Tulowitzki's 21 and McCutchen's 17. Tulowitzki is putting together a really good year again. When he stays healthy, there's very little doubt about what kind of player he can be. His problem is playing regularly year in and year out without some kind of an injury. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Bird. Bruce at first. And he started to. They appeal. He did not go around, according to Eric Cooper. 2-2. Slow tapper to the third baseman. Bird 0 for 3. On to second goes Bruce, 1 out. Well, following our game early this evening, and for that matter after every Reds game right here on Fox Sports Ohio, we invite you to stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll break it all down, interviews from the clubhouse. And of course the guys are standing by from FanFest. Jeff Pecoro, Brian Giesenslaw. They have been going live virtually all day today. And of course, when the Reds game started last night at 7 o'clock Eastern time, actually with All-Star Live at 5:30 yesterday afternoon, that began what is still ongoing of continuous hours. It'll end up being over 24 straight hours of all Reds programming, whether it be live, or replaying some great features or World Series games of past years. 2-0 on Brian Payne.
So what you're saying is, if you want to, if you can't get down to the Fan Fest or one of the other events going on, you want to immerse yourself in baseball and all-star stuff, all you got to do is flip on Fox Sports Ohio. There it is.
You better believe it. You and I are looking forward to being a part of everything going on with Fox Sports Ohio Monday and Tuesday. Popped up. Monday will be a big day for us down there. We're looking forward to it. The commissioner of baseball is going to be holding a town hall meeting. If you're interested in coming down to Fan Fest on Monday, I think that's going to be around 1:30. Well, he is a very, Chris, you and I were at the Fox baseball seminar this year, a very engaging guy.
Very much so.
Smart, easy to talk to. He seems like any man or every man. Grew up in upstate New York. Grew up playing baseball. Apparently a very good baseball player, good athlete.
He doesn't sound, when you talk to him, like a lot of politica speak, if you want to call it that, where, you know, he's afraid to say anything. I think it's so far so good.
So far,
I mean, he's got to be very happy with the pace of the game changes that they've made this year. The replay has gotten better from one year to the next.
3-2 now on Payne.
Of course, he still has that little issue surrounding number 14,
which he'll talk openly about, though. You have to admire it. You know, he said, look, I'm going to step back and I'm going to look at everything from a fresh perspective, and we'll see where we are. 3-2 on Brian Payne. But, you know, with all due respect, we know Pete Rose. We love Pete Rose. We would love to see Pete Rose inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. One of the greatest players of all time. But in all fairness, and Rob Manfred doesn't say this, so I don't want anybody to think I'm trying to quote him. Baseball has a lot more important issues than that. And Manfred is trying to get this game healthier by the day. There's ball 4 to Pena. So the Reds have 2 on against Dyson, with the hot-hitting Eugenio Suarez coming to the plate. Suarez back in the second inning, clubbed his 4th home run. And his last time up in the 4th, he had a line drive and Christian Yelich made a sliding catch on, coming in hard from left field. So Suarez has hit the ball right on the screws twice. Reds down 3. They have Suarez as a tying run at the plate. 1 out. Chased a bad ball there. Oh, and 2. Thing at first, up the trail around the bend. Bruce leads at second base. And it remains 0-2 on Eugenio Suarez. Nice in the pause, and now the 1-2 coming to Suarez. Grounded foul. It's been a very good road trip for the Redlegs, and of course they have not been a good home team for the better part of the last 2 years. They went 2-0 with a rainout in Washington. 1-1 here, so 3 up against just 1 down, though trailing here in game 3. In and out of the mitt of the catcher, Real Muto, and Suarez hanging around. Into left center field, sinking liner. Yelich is not going to get this one. Pena better hurry. Wow. And a hit turns into a force out.
That's too bad. You know, Pena's not the most gifted runner, but he's got to read that a little bit better than he did. That play is right in front of him coming from first to second base. Yelich comes in. It's clearly a trap. You just have to be a little bit closer to second base when he makes that play, knowing that he's going to lay out for it, knowing that he'd have a very difficult time throwing it behind you to get you trapped off at first base. Just not a real crisp game at all here for the Reds today.
And really, that is something that the most ardent Reds fan has seen this year. And we talk about it frequently. You know, you're 5-0 against the Washington Nationals. Now, when the Reds played the Nationals to start this week, they're missing a lot of players. There's a base hit into right field by Schumacher. A big 2-out hit off the Reds bench by Skip. That'll plate Jay Bruce. And the Reds now within 2. It's a 5-3 game. Schumacher's done an excellent job as a pinch hitter this year. He leads all major leaguers in now pinch hits with 11.
You know, like most good pinch hitters, he can hit a fastball. He's got a nice quick swing, quick to the ball, and he gets a pitch up and finds a hole on the right side.
You know, while the pitching coach comes out, Chris, you know, it just getting back to, you just don't know which Reds team, and that's why you're a team that's, you know, going into play today that's 6 games under 500. You could just as easily be 500 based on the fact that some series you play against really good teams and you drill them. And then the Reds have had other series, most recently against the Milwaukee Brewers, who have the second worst record in the league. And the Reds just get whitewashed.
Well, if you get whitewashed and blown out, it's one thing. But if you lose those close games, not only 1-run games, but 2- and 3-run games where they could have swung either way based on a couple of different plays. Play by Votto, that ball that got by Joey Votto while Iglesias was on the mound. Huge play. I mean, that ball has to be at least knocked down. And the one by Pena right here.
Hamilton just thrown out by McGee. Wow. Close. Reds get a run. Ryan Price is going to have Rob Coughlin take a look at this just before we go to a commercial break. And he's not going to challenge the call. Doesn't look like. Nope. Tell you what, we'll have to look at that again when we come back. For every game of the Reds Live right here on Fox Sports Ohio. It's presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Let's look one more time. Yep, good call down there. And the Reds do not ask for a review.
That little stretch down there by Justin Bour was the difference.
Well, the Reds get a run back. They trail 5-3. And Nate Adcock will take over on the mound. Layden Hop goes 2/3 of an inning. He's not charged with a run, but he allowed a 2-out, 2-run single, which led into that word charge to Raisel Iglesias. Interesting news coming out of the nation's capital. There's a tapper off the bat of Real Muto down to Frazier, 1 out. It's being reported, though not official yet, but being reported that Matt Williams, the manager of the Washington Nationals, is preparing to announce that Max Scherzer, his ace, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball and a member of the National League All-Star team, is going to start for the Nationals tomorrow. Final game before the break. Not that that's a really big deal, but the second part of that report suggests that Williams is also going to add that Scherzer will not be allowed to pitch in the All-Star game. Now, what does all that mean in the grand scheme of things? There could be a position open on the National League pitching staff, which then, of course, would bring us to the man who is on the mound tomorrow for the Reds. Finished second in the fan balloting to Carlos Martinez for the final roster spot on the National League. And that, of course, would be Reds ace Johnny Cueto.
Now, right now, if you look at the projected starters for tomorrow, the Washington Nationals have listed Doug Fister. But the Nationals have lost 3 in a row. They had a little cushion there over the Atlanta Braves about a week ago. It was up to about 4 or 5 games. It is now down to 2 games. Over the Mets, that is. So you can see why the Mets have won 2 in a row. The Nationals have lost 3 in a row. So, you know, you run your ace out there on the very last day of the first half of the season before the All-Star break, and you try to break the losing streak.
For those fans wondering, it is not a rule of any kind. There is no rule that says if a pitcher pitches on Sunday, and we're primarily talking a starting pitcher, there is no rule that says that pitcher cannot then turn around and pitch an inning or 2 a batter or pitch at all in the All-Star game, which subsequently comes 2 days after Sunday. It's always on a Tuesday night. Now, we'll wait to get the official word when this is announced, if it is indeed announced by Matt Williams that that's what they're going to do. Which brings us to the Cueto situation. And it is a very interesting one, although far different than the situation regarding Scherzer, who just signed a long-term contract. And some might say, well, contract should have nothing to do with this. Well, that would be living in a dream world. Cueto did not pitch in his first All-Star game last year. Attended all the festivities, but because he pitched on Sunday, he did not pitch in the game. He wants to pitch in the All-Star game. He wanted to be on the All-Star team. We don't really know how the Reds feel about it because they were never forced, Chris, to make any kind of, not necessarily call, but suggestion on what they might want him to do or would like him to do. And, you know, there's no guarantee that Johnny Cueto would be the guy to replace Scherzer. Could be Clayton Kershaw. There's strike 3 called on the inside corner. Be interested to hear your thoughts on this, Chris, when we come back. Game summary. Suarez started the scoring in the second inning with a home run to left field off starter Adam Conley. Billy Hamilton had a single to begin the third, stole second, and surprised everybody, taking off for third on a throwback from McCatchy. He would score on a sac fly by Todd Frazier. But then Gillespie led off the fifth inning with a home run. It would turn out to be the first of 5 runs, the first of 6 hits. And the final blow, a 2-out, 2-run single to right field by Casey McGee. 5 runs, 9 hits, 4 left for Miami. 3 runs, 7 hits, 6 left for the Reds. And now a left-hander comes on from the Miami bullpen. Mike Dunn.
Now, Mike Dunn, a hard thrower. He's had some control problems this year. He's walked 14 batters in those 27 innings. Earned run average is up there a little bit. But he comes right after you with the heat.
All right, top of the order for the Reds. Brandon Phillips, 1 for 3. Reds only down a pair as they bat against the left-handed. They have righty, lefty, righty, lefty to start this inning should they get 4 deep. And the Reds have 2 left-handers that can hit left-handers, both Votto and Bruce. Scalded by Brandon Phillips, but they've been doing a lot of that today. 1 away in the inning. All right, Chris, I want to get back to you about this Votto thing, or rather with this Cueto thing, with Votto coming up. 1, if Scherzer pitches, do you think Cueto is named to the All-Star team based on a number of different factors, which he's earned the right probably to be there, and he finishes runner-up in the fan balloting for whatever that means? That's number 1. Number 2, does he pitch in the All-Star game? Because, I mean,
well, he's scheduled to pitch tomorrow, too. Cueto is. Okay, so everybody doesn't know that. Thank you. Scherzer is scheduled to pitch tomorrow. Now, if Matt Williams decides to pull Doug Fister and put Scherzer in, because he pitched only a few innings against the Reds his last time out, remember? So I actually, here's the way I feel about it, Tom, in a nutshell. I like what Matt Williams is doing by moving Scherzer in and letting your ace pitch one more time. But if you pull Johnny Cueto out of a big league game tomorrow to appear in the All-Star game, and he may or may not pitch in that game, you got plenty of pitchers on that roster. I don't like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is no way. And I guess I should not say no way, because there are things that happen in baseball and in life every single day where you're just like, you got to be kidding. But the message that would send as your franchise, if Cueto's named to the All-Star team and you don't pitch him in a game tomorrow so he can pitch in an exhibition game, albeit an important one on Tuesday night, cannot happen.
And I think because of that, he doesn't have as good a chance as being named as maybe the other guys who were, you know, in that final 4 running to make the All-Star team. Carlos Martinez,
who's already on the team,
and is on it. Clayton Kershaw was in that group.
Yeah.
I know that Troy Tulowitzki, but they'll look for a pitcher. Who's the other pitcher that they were talking about?
Familia.
Oh, Familia, the closer from the New York Mets.
All right, but let's take this one step further, because I just shared the rule with all the fans, because it's often misinterpreted and misquoted. It is not a rule that the pitcher is not allowed to start on Sunday and then come back and pitch on Wednesday for an inning in the All-Star. If Cueto is named to the team, I think he wants to pitch in the game on Tuesday, because Cueto missed his chance to pitch in an All-Star game last year.
All right, so what if you're the Reds, though, and you're thinking, all right, well, we held this guy out of a start about a month ago because he had a little bit of a tender elbow. And we've been very careful with him, and he pitched lights out his last time out. And he's pitched pretty well here 3 times. But we really want to keep him healthy because he is an asset right now. And do we really want him out there on 1 day's rest pitching against the game's best hitters? I don't know.
It's a very interesting debate. I'm not sure there's a right answer. A lifetime on the brand new Cincinnati zip line experience by Cintas, located at the Banks Entertainment District. This experience will allow fans to fly further than a city block right down Freedom Way. Spots are limited. It is $35, so hurry and reserve yours today. Visit reds.com/zipline. They had to back that thing up for about an hour and a half today. They don't make you go down there and stand in line. When you buy the ticket, it gives you an hour in which you're designated, and you'll go down there if your slot is at 3 o'clock. And they're running about 45 people through per hour, I'm told. But with all the rain we have had recently, there were some construction issues in and around, not with the zip line, but in and around the area. So they had to just back it up for a little while. Told it will get started again in about an hour and a half tonight, downtown Cincinnati. Big day tomorrow, the futures game. As Manny Parra now takes over on the mound. All-Star Celebrity Softball game is tomorrow. And there's a strike to D. Gordon, and it's 1-2. Speaking of the All-Star game, just moments ago, another player will not be playing for the National League. Cardinals outfielder Matt Holliday will not play because of the quadriceps injury that has sidelined that slugger for more than a month. So that's official. To play in that game, you have to be activated off the disabled list. And Holliday, there was talk about him being activated this weekend. He will not be. Otto makes that play. And late getting over his Parra.
Nice play by Votto to glove it. People don't really appreciate how difficult it is for a left-hander whose momentum takes you towards third to get up and race a guy, a sprinter, like D. Gordon in the bag. I mean, you've got to take a direct line. You can't get a slow start or you're just not going to get there in time. And that's what happened to Parra. I mean, you can see that he hustled hard, and he got a pretty good jump over there. But, I mean, that's just how fast D. Gordon is, and they're taking Gordon out of the game. Did he hurt himself sliding headfirst into first base?
No. Miguel Rojas takes over as a pinch runner. Take a look.
Take another look.
He looked at his hand, his wrist right away,
and he's showing Perry Hill his hand and wrist, and I think he's been wearing a little bit of a brace on that wrist anyway. The last couple of days. We saw him before the ball game appearing at home plate in a ceremony wearing a wrist brace. So I got to ask you the question: if you have a sore wrist, why would you slide headfirst into first base? Bip Roberts. Old Bip used to break those fingers regularly doing that. Of course, D. Gordon is scheduled to be a starter on the All-Star game on Tuesday.
Here's Yelich, and that one is inside. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Rojas running for Gordon. We are just in the 7th inning. These last couple of nights, games have been flying by with no scoring, virtually no scoring. 2 teams have combined for 3 runs in the first 2 games of this series. Marlins winning behind Jose Fernandez in the opener Thursday night, 2-0. The Reds behind Mike Leake and Aroldis Chapman, combining on a 4-hit shutout in a 1-0 Reds win. Little different story today. 8 runs, 17 hits. Base hit left field. And Rojas digging for third. And he will get there. And on to second goes Yelich.
Yeah, that's the bad part of it right there, is you lose the possibility of a double play by trying to get the lead runner, which was really a long shot. Because Rojas really runs well. Got a good break on the ball. Wallenberg's got to almost change directions and kind of throw behind him right there. And even if that throw's on the money, it's going to be very close. Meanwhile, Yelich goes into second base. The Marlins got something going once again.
Echeverria is 0 for 3. And the Reds, will they intentionally walk him and face a left-handed batting Bohr, or will they come after Echeverria? They're going to bring the infield in and pitch to him.
I think maybe with 1 out you would consider the base on balls, but I'm not so sure with nobody out you put yourself in that kind of a jam where you have to pitch everybody in this inning with no room to put a runner, a batter when you get behind in the count.
Nothing in 1 on Echeverria. And Parra to the plate. Jam shot pop up. This is going to fall in. Wow. 6-3 Marlins lead. Parra made a pitch. It's just bad luck.
Well, it is bad luck because you're playing the infield in. If they're playing normal depth, it's an easy play for Brandon Phillips.
Still nobody out. Runners on the corners, and Jeff Pico will make a very, very slow, walk now trot and walk again to the mound. Well, look around baseball. Tampa Bay in the 7th inning, a 3-0 lead over the Astros. Astros have lost 4 in a row, and their lead over the Angels is down to a half game in the American League West. Pedro Villarreal cranking it up. Minnesota trying to make it back-to-back wins over the Tigers. All Minnesota so far. They're in the 6th inning. 9-7. And, well, the Tigers can be in a little bit of trouble. If they're unable to come back to win that game, they would be just 1 game over 500. They're without, of course, the great Miguel Cabrera. And if Kansas City should win and the Tigers should lose, Chris, they would go into the final day before the All-Star break, a whopping 9 games behind the Kansas City Royals. It's a bit of a surprise. Nothing at 1 on Justin Bour. This is another hit and another run. This will go all the way to the wall. Might bring in 2. And it will. That's a Maria splitting around. Man, can that kid run? 2-run double by Bour. And it is 8-3 Miami.
Manny Parra was brought into this inning to take care of the left-handers in the lineup. A little one-handed swing right there by Bour. That's adjusting. Now, that's a good pitch by Parra. And there's not a whole lot you can do or complain about if you're Manny Parra, except the fact that he's able to get that ball down the line and clear the bases.
Still none out. 4 straight hits. And there's ball 1 to Casey McGee, who capped off the 5-run 5th inning with a 2-out 2-run single to right field.
Manny's faced 4 batters and 16 pitches, and he's looking for his first out of the inning.
He's still in search of an out. Going to hold the runner at third. Boy, Phillips laying out. That's 2 base hits by McGee.
That guy couldn't buy a hit in San Francisco, and he comes back to where he hit very well here last year for the Marlins and swinging the bat just like he left off. And that will be all for Manny Parra without retiring a batter.
Looked like Brandon was getting ready to dive and may have lost his footing a little bit there. He's walking around as though he perhaps could be shaken up. Parra faces 5 batters, gives up 5 hits. the Major League Baseball All-Star Experience in action. Come on out to Great American Ballpark. It's All-Star Sunday, a doubleheader. Softball, celebrity softball game. Have the Futures game, and you can get a ticket right now. Just go to allstargame.com. And for the Reds, left-hander Amir Garrett. Outfielder Kyle Waldrop will play for the United States team. And just sent down before the game today, Yorman Rodriguez will play for the World team. And, of course, the managers, former Reds greats, Ken Griffey Sr. for the United States and Tony Perez.
Pedro Villarreal is pitcher number 5 for the Reds, the second in this inning. The 5s and 7s are wild so far here in Miami. The Marlins scored 5 in the 5th, and they have scored 3 here in the 7th.
5 batters, 5 straight hits given up by Manny Parra. Runners on the corners with none out. It's 1-0 on Connor Gillespie. He's had a very good game, and it's gotten better. Base hit and run, making it 9-3. That is 15 base hits for the Marlins, 6 in a row in this inning.
I mean, that is statistically very difficult to do, both for the Marlins and the Reds pitching staff. I mean, how many times have you seen a team, you may have 6 guys reach base, a hit batter, a walk, an error, something like that, but 6 hits in a row? You might be able to run Porky Lopez out there and not give up 6 hits in a row.
Haven't heard that name in a while. Former Reds bullpen coach. He was a good one. Porky.
He was. Sure was.
Very good. A high pop-up into foul territory. If you're wondering the most consecutive hits in an inning in the history of Major League Baseball, the answer would be 11. That was said by the Colorado Rockies against the Chicago Cubs in a 12-run 8th inning.
Oh, don't even say that.
July the 30th, 2010. For those of you just wondering. Just announced Dee Gordon. I'm sure the National League will now be looking for another replacement for the All-Star game. They just reported that Dee Gordon has dislocated his left thumb. So he will not be playing in that All-Star game. On a head-first slide into first base. Gillespie hits one a long way, and that is a 3-run home run. A 7-run, 7-hit inning, and still nobody out. And that is Real Muto with a 3-run blast, plating Gillespie and McGee. Wow. 7 straight batters. 7 straight hits. Real Muto just his 4th home run of the year. Starting to say about Gillespie what a good day he has had. Couple of hits, now a couple of runs scored, and not a bad day for Real Muto either. Couple of hits, and now a 3-run home run. There's an 8th straight hit. They're going to let the pitcher, Dunn, just stay in there to hit. Or maybe to prevent rubbing salt in the wound, and even Dunn gets a hit. We're knocking on the door of a major league record now. Knocking on the door. It's 9 in a row here in this Marlins 7th inning. And when the pitcher gets one,
I mean, not just a pitcher, but a relief pitcher.
and you see Perry Hill over there saying we need that ball. First career hit for Dunn. The major league record is 11. The Marlins have 9 straight hits to open up this 7th inning against Parra and now Villarreal. And we're back to the top of the order. Rojas. He took over as a pinch runner when Gordon led off this inning, hit a sharp ground ball to Joey Votto. But Parra was late going to the bag, and with the speed of Gordon, he was easily going to beat it. But then at the last minute, he went diving into first base, ultimately dislocating his thumb. To get it out, they'll try for 2. Safe to call it first, so that'll end the string of 9 straight hits on a fielder's choice. Yeah, they're on the corners with 1 out there. Let's go back to the Gordon play, Chris.
Boy, I just don't. You know, it has been proven that you do not get there faster by sliding. And he hits that bag with his left thumb and wrist. And he has dislocated his thumb. He cuts up and he shows it to Perry Hill and just walks off the field.
Too bad.
That is too bad.
Yellow smokes one to left field. That'll be another hit.
Well, doesn't he know the record now is unattainable? He ought to know better than that.
10 hits in this inning.
I'm glad I brought the big scorecard today.
Parra faced 5 batters, gave up 5 hits, 5 runs, all earned. Villarreal has faced 6 batters, allowed 5 hits. And so far 3 runs. Price on the horn down to the bullpen. Echeverria, 1 of 4. He knocked in the first run of this inning with a base hit into center field. That was that little bleeder with the infield drawn in.
19 hits. And what did we highlight in the open? We talked about how difficult runs were to come by here in Miami.
We're still only in the 7th inning. And still only 1 out.
I'll tell you one guy, I'm sure the Reds fans are at home that either rolling their eyes, but one Reds fan in Dayton, Ohio that watches us religiously, and it's our annual shout out to Lance Litvack. Lance, your big fan. Bobby Dorfman, working for the Marlins crew down here, sends his best and says hello. So hope you're having a good day despite the big 7th inning here.
Yes, indeed. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Echeverria. And that'll be the 2nd out of the inning. Double. His last time up, he's been on base 3 straight times after a fly ball to right in the 2nd inning. He has singled, been intentionally walked, and drove into scoring as well in this monstrous 7th inning. 8-run 7th inning for the Marlins. The bouncing ball should stop the bleeding. 8 runs in the inning for the Marlins. They lead by 10. Gentlemen, hope you're enjoying yourself. I know you've been putting in a lot of hours, and more are coming. But we love having you down there and checking everything going on. One of the players they're referring to, D. Gordon's already had to leave this game with a dislocated left thumb. Rojas stays in there after running for him to play second base. And now Brad Hand will take over on the mound, replacing Dunn, who worked a perfect 7th.
Wasn't this game 2-0 favor of the Reds just a couple of innings ago?
It was. know, it's interesting when you look up at the scoreboard and you see 13-3, you think there's no way a play or two here or there changes a game when it's 13-3. That would not hold true in this one today.
Sometimes a play or two sets the energy level a different way or shifts the momentum. I get the feeling watching this game that's exactly what's happened. Bruce having a good day at the plate.
Yes, he is, and he's had a lot of good days here lately. Bruce has been over a 330 batter now, closer to 340 batter if you include the 3 hits today, over nearly the last month. Why not smile? And after the way things were going for Jay there in April and a large chunk of May, got hot for a little while, then really spun downward again.
Which is kind of rolling. You know, the peaks and valleys of Jay Bruce. 181 in April, 256 in May, 263 in June. Finally hit 5 home runs in June. It's where the power started to come. And he came into this ball game having hit 300 here in July. Add 3 more hits to that.
Marlon Byrd is 0 for 3 in the game, and this could be his final chance to extend his hitting streak to 14 straight games. Marlins, by the way, broke a franchise record with 9 hits in a row. That bests the prior franchise high in St. Louis in the first inning of a game back in 1998. They had 8 straight hits to start a game, much less an inning. And Byrd out on strikes. Don't forget Saturday, July the 18th. That's a week from today. Of course, there's a lot going on around Cincinnati between now and then. But a week from today, the Indians come to town. You can get there as low as $12. Plus, the first 25,000 fans in attendance Saturday, July 18th. Receive an exclusive Get Your Stash On t-shirt thanks to Arm & Hammer. Come on down to the ballpark. We'll look forward to having you. One out, one on for Brian Pena. It's going to be Gillespie calling off Ichiro. 2 outs. Final game before the All-Star break mañana. Johnny Cueto scheduled to get the ball against right-hander Danny Herron. Herron having a good year. ERA at 3.3. Of course, he's had a very, very good career. He has been an excellent pitcher for a decade. First coming up with the St. Louis Cardinals, you may remember, pitching out of their bullpen. And was traded to the Athletics. If I remember right, that was in the Mark McGwire deal. Or was that in the Mark Mulder deal? That was a Mark Mulder deal. Yeah. That was a Mulder deal. Mulder coming from Oakland to St. Louis. Aaron got a chance to do what he wanted to do, and that was be a starter, and that's when everything got rolling for him. Bounced around a lot in recent years, but still had a very, very good career. Devontae Jesus Jr. up there batting for Eugenio Suarez, and it's 2 balls and a strike on Ivan. Off the pitcher's glove, ricochets to the second baseman. They'll get the force out to end the inning. Reds get a hit, leave a man. Marlins back, leading 13-3.
Situation. If I'd have just stood in there and said, go ahead and tag me, my dad would whip my ass after that game.
Larry Haney was our catcher in Oakland. Came to me and showed me an article about Pete. And it was quoted as saying, I would not have been able to talk to my father had I not hit him the way I did. That was devastating. I mean, that to me was wow.
Well, coming up later tonight, we have to wait until the Baseball Night in America on Fox concludes to resume all of our programming in and around Fan Fest and the All-Star Game and Reds baseball. So roughly right around 10, we'll spotlight Todd Frazier and then our Cincinnati All-Star history. Great interviews that were done with both Pete Rose and Ray Fosse about one of the most memorable plays in the history of the All-Star Game. Some would argue it's the single most memorable moment in the All-Star Game. The 1970 collision to end the game, Pete Rose and Ray Fosse. And by the way, that show will go through the history of all of every single All-Star game that has been played in Cincinnati. This will be the 5th. Popped up into right. Carlos Contreras takes care of Casey McGee to begin this Marlins 8th. The Reds at one time in this game had a 2-0 lead. Single runs in the second and the third. Marlins scored 5 in the 5th to chase Raisel Iglesias. Reds got one back in the 6th inning, but then the 7th, record-setting 7th for the Marlins. 9 straight hits to open the 7th inning, ultimately getting 10 hits and 8 runs. It's fair ball.
Of course it is.
An even 20th base hit for these Marlins tonight.
He's a triple away now. Well, that's kind of like dumb luck right there. Look at that swing. He rolls over on a high pitch, and it stays right inside the line for a double. So he's had a home run, a double, and a single. The Reds rally for 10. He go extras, and he may get another chance. Get that elusive cycle.
Ball is driven a long way into right center field by Real Muto. He homered his last time up, and now an RBI double to make it 14-3. Third hit for him in a game. He's driven in 4 runs. It's been a very good night for Ichiro. 2 hits, 4 at-bats, has scored a run.
During his one of his previous at-bats, Tom, we were talking about all the hits that Ichiro has had during his career. I looked up his career hit chart, where all the hits went, and they went everywhere. I mean, that was really, when I think of Ichiro, I think he hits the ball where you don't expect him to hit it. So he's so difficult to play defense on. Plus the fact that at one time he was one of the fastest players in the game. And he would be running out of the batter's box at the time he'd make contact, and an easy ground ball to shortstop's the base hit. But I mean, pulling the ball down the line in one at bat and then hitting the ball down the other way on the other line in the next at bat. And he's still very cool.
That's in the air to Marlon Byrd, second out of the inning. Well, we invite you to tweet your strongest fan photo using hashtag #OhioDataStrongFan, and you might end up as part of a Reds telecast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Ichiro still makes his home in Kobe, Japan. For all those years in Seattle, you know, it's not out of the question to wonder, okay, well, you know, so popular there, he was there for so long, was he thinking about making his year-round home there? He was there from 2000 until 2012 when he went over to the Yankees in that deal. But still calls Kobe his home. He's 41 years old, and he sure looks good. We should all have looked that good at 41. Well, maybe you did. I shouldn't say that.
Well, is that Kobe like the beef?
Yes. Yes. Away center field. Getting over. Marlins get one more. Mercifully, the Reds bat in the ninth, trailing 14-3. Johnny Cueto coming off that complete game shutout, striking out 11 Washington Nationals and outdueling Max Scherzer. Now the question is, will Cueto have a chance to replace Max Scherzer on the All-Star team? If Scherzer does indeed pitch tomorrow for the Nationals,
do you have any
reports are that Matt Williams is going to say that he's not pitching.
Now, who makes that decision? Is that Bruce Bochy as the manager of the National League?
No, I think that this is strictly a Nationals agreement with Scherzer.
No, I'm not talking about him. I'm not talking about him pitching tomorrow. I think that's a good move by Matt Williams. I mean, those games are. I mean, I'm still of the opinion that the regular season big league game is more important than the All-Star game.
Yeah. You mean who would be
who would make the decisions? Who would replace Scherzer if he is pitching tomorrow and doesn't pitch in the All-Star game?
I think ultimately you hit the nail on the head. Your old buddy Bruce Bochy. He's a skipper. He makes a call. They don't have a general manager for that team. He's a guy.
Well, so if you were Bruce Bochy, would you go for a starter or would you go for a reliever like Familia?
I would pick up the phone. I would call the Reds manager Brian Price. I'd ask him to bring Johnny Cueto into the office. I'd put him on a speakerphone and say, Johnny, you were second in line in that fan balloting. You pitch well enough to be an all-star. I want you to tell me if you feel like you can pitch in that game. Do you want to pitch in that game? And if the answer is yes, sir, and the Reds are on board, although they can't tell him that he can't do it. But, you know, after you make that phone call, I think Bruce Bochy says, can you guys do me a favor? Talk it over for an hour. Talk with the other people that are involved in this, because Walt Jocketty would be a part of that, so on and so forth. Call me back in an hour and let me know. If you want it, you're on the team. If you don't, I got to go in a different direction, but I got to know in an hour.
Sound a little like Donald Trump right there.
No, Cueto's getting the benefit of the doubt on two fronts. Number one, he finished second in the fan balloting, and you're right about, you know, popularity and all that kind of thing, and marketing and all that kind of thing. But the bottom line is all of those guys deserve to be on the All-Star team.
Well, you know, the other part of it is that we seem to miss is that the final four in voting, you know, when you have the one guy that you can pick out of four. Final five is the only time a pitcher can be voted in by the fans. Every other pitcher on that team is selected.
That's right.
So why would the fan voting have anything to do in Bruce Bochy's mind?
Because you gave the fans a chance to have a say in what pitcher they'd like to see in the game. And they gave you an order. Which one? I'm taking into account the Cincinnati part of it. And I'm taking into account the fact that Cueto has not pitched in an all-star game. If Clayton Kershaw would be your next choice, Clayton Kershaw's pitched in an all-star game. Jason Bourgeois, fly ball to center field. What would you do?
It's just never as easy as it appears.
No,
I mean, it's always a little bit complicated. I would probably not. I would call the Reds if I'm Bruce Bochy, and I would say I'm not going to put the Reds and Johnny Cueto in that position.
Good point there.
And I know that it would be his day on the side, his throwing day on the side, and Johnny Cueto, being the competitor that he is, would probably say yes, I can pitch on Tuesday. But I wouldn't want to put Brian Price into a situation where he's got to think about Tuesday when he's managing tomorrow's game, about how many pitches Cueto's going to go, and will he go out there for one more inning, that type of thing. So I would probably just take that away and say, hey, I know that he's deserved it. He got the second in the fan vote, but I'm going in a different direction. I would select someone else.
Both excellent points. And really, there is no right answer, and there's no wrong answer.
Yeah.
The Reds are down to their final out. They're down 14-3. And this should do it. Ground ball to short. And the Marlins lead this series 2 games to 1 with 1 more to go. They get 21 hits in the game. We'll be back with more. 14-3 in the final.